Hello, everyone. This vlog is gonna be a little bit more positive than the last one. I watched over it. I'm gonna go ahead and confess. I had a couple of beers that night, so I got a little bit louder than I wanted to be. I was amazed that my neighbors didn't come knocking in, going, "Hey, what the fuck's going on? What are you yelling about?" But people in this neighborhood yell at each other all the time, so just general drama. But I watched Extreme Rules. I liked it. The Bray Wyatt Cena match was probably the only one that I was disappointed by. Not the outcome, but uh, just the match itself. It just felt stale and like Cena has nothing to offer anymore. He's so boring and stiff, and it's like I just want to see Bray Wyatt win. But on a more positive note, the match between the Shield and Evolution, oh, that was gold. Seth Rollins is a beast. Ambrose is just out of his goddamn mind. And to see Roman Reigns dominate like that, I was just like, oh, I was fangasming. I was like, oh, I love these guys. The match between Tamina and Paige, who I am absolutely just in love with, Paige, not Tamina. Although Tamina's pretty cute too in her kind of masculine way, I guess. I don't know. But that match I felt was kind of lackluster. It's a Divas match. It's not really meant to be long and epic, and the thing spinning in the background is a little distracting. I'm not gonna lie, but I felt like the match itself was okay. I mean, for a Divas match, it was okay. I didn't like the ending because I thought Tamina should have put up maybe a couple of seconds of fight when she got put into that submission hold. But as soon as the submission was locked in, she like, oh no, no, oh, I'm done, I'm done. I was like, that makes her look weak, and she's supposed to be kind of a more dominating force, but oh well. I mean, it is what it is. I expected Paige to win. I was like, they're not going to give this to Tamina. They're not. If they were going to give Tamina the title, they would have done it a while ago. But then again, it's WWE. Let's see, what other matches do we have? I'm trying to remember off the top. The ones that I watched like the second half of it. Biggie Langston and Bad News Barrett. I actually got like the tail end of that, and I saw Bad News Barrett win, which I thought he was going to win. But he's already won the title before, so it's not really that big a deal. But still, it's nice to see Barrett go over. It's nice to see him get this little streak of victories. Another match that I didn't see it, but I saw the outcome of it with Cesaro versus Rob Van Dam versus Jack Swagger. Cesaro won. I kind of expected him to win because it's like they're building him up. They're trying to make him a big guy now, and all the stuff that he's done. It's like, oh shit! Like when he lifted Big Show, I was like, oh damn, that's impressive. That's like Hulkamania shit right there. Then the last match, the main event, Bray Wyatt, or not Bray Wyatt, Daniel Bryan versus Kane, which that match was surprisingly good. I didn't think it would be that good, but it was all right. If I had to give this thing a score, I'd say like 7 out of 10, maybe. Above average. It was a good show. It kept me entertained. It kept me watching as I was sipping my beers and stuff like that. I didn't really drink that much because I had to work today, but yeah, I got a little too emotional, so I apologize for yelling into the microphone and all that. But the other part of this vlog is gonna be like I was gonna say like 5 things that Trueblood has done wrong, but more of why the show has just been a complete crap fest. Like the last, I'm gonna say 2 seasons, because a lot of people get season 4 flack. All right, let me establish that seasons 1 through 3 in their entirety were fine. I liked seasons 1 through 3. Especially season 2. I thought season 2 was the best, easily the best season out of the whole bunch. But I think people are unnecessarily unfair towards season 4 because the main moral message behind True Blood is equal rights for everybody. That's what the whole vampire rights amendment deal is supposed to be. That's the whole point of it. It's supposed to be them trying to be equal to humanity because they're trying to blend in with human society because that's the only way they think they can survive. And season 4 focused on that more than any of the other seasons. And I feel like the only reason the season really failed, well, 2 reasons that the season failed, was because of like how Bill kind of was becoming more of a douche, and that's because he got put in as king and they killed off Sophie, which I thought was kind of stupid. Him as king though, I thought the idea was all right. I thought they did the best they could with it overall. He didn't turn into too much of a dick, but we'll get into that later. The other part was a weak villain. Marnie was a weak fucking, but probably the weakest villain out of the bunch. And you look at the past villains like Renee. What made him intimidating is you didn't know who the killer was, and I thought the only slip up season 1 had was revealing him at the end of season 9 as being pretty much the killer. Like if you had any doubts up to at that point, if you had any doubts, like no, it wasn't Renee. He probably just knows something. But even then, it's like it was Renee. Because who else could it have been once they showed that picture? And I was like, they should have waited for like maybe that should have been like the opening to episode 10. Or 12 rather. I forgot that True Blood did 12 episodes back in the day. That should have been the opening to episode 12. Like, they do those little snapshots. They do that opening sequence, and then they cut to credits. That should have been the opening sequence where what's her face is talking on the phone. Then you see the picture slide out, and you're like, oh shit. So it's Renee. With season 2, what's her face? Well, there's technically 2 villains. It's Steve Newland, which he's not meant to be taken too seriously. He's like a ridiculous fucking character, but he's awesome while he's being ridiculous. But what's her name? I forgot her name. And she's like one of my most favorite villains. Marianne, that's it. You didn't know what she was initially. Like, you're like, what the fuck is she? Why is Sam so scared of her? And then you see flashbacks of like, okay, yeah, she's definitely something. And then you have the whole reveal that she's like basically a priestess of Dionysus, and she's trying to bring her god to Earth and all this other stuff. But you also see like there's no way to kill her until the end sequence, which I thought was great. That was a good way to give her a send off. Season 3, Russell Edgington is the best. Fucking love Russell. I forgot the name of the guy that plays him. But either way, he just goes balls to the walls with that guy. Balls to the wall, rather. He just has so much fun playing this guy. He is eccentric. He's just outright crazy. And, when Talbot bites the big one, no pun intended, you completely see Russell just lose his fucking mind. And that scene where he kills the news anchor was great. That was probably the best villain moment in all of Trueblood. So, I've covered what's good. And season 4, it focused on the main aspect. It had a central focused storyline, which I like. And you get to see Eric and Bill kind of work together, which, is something you rarely see in the show. But you see, like, two kind of they kind of antagonize each other, but you see them kind of work together for this common goal. And you also see a softer side of Eric, which, it's like, oh, okay, it makes him more likable. Not that he wasn't likable to begin with. Season 5 started off on, like, an awesome note because, what's his name? Maloney, who plays the main guy behind the authority, basically the head honcho of the whole authority. He nailed it. I was like, oh, I'm loving you, dude. You're so awesome. I'm like, this is going to be our villain. I'm thinking this guy is going to be the main villain. Then you have Russell running around. I'm like, okay, so Russell's going to be kind of like a secondary villain maybe. And then you kind of see Salome is kind of a little manipulative and stuff like that. So I'm like, okay, so they're going to have like fucking 3 villains? All right, I'm in. Nah, not so much. And then you have all these diverging storylines, and I'm just like, And eventually, like, when you get introduced to the whole Lilith deal, I was like, all right, where are you going with this? And then they have this kind of like survival of the fittest type of game where she's kind of saying, I choose you, and I choose you, and I choose you. And what she's trying to do is turn everybody against each other so that the smartest, the best basically survives. And it turns out to be Bill. But I don't get, like, they try to make it seem like Bill has felt this like sense of longing, like, I don't know where I belong, I don't know what it is, and he's like, oh, this Lilith thing is giving me purpose and stuff like that. I'm like, I don't buy it. I don't buy it. That felt like that was just kind of thrown in to kind of, I don't know, like, was Evil Bill okay? Yeah, I mean, as a villain, he was all right. It's kind of, there was no build up to it though. There was no real build up. It just happened. It's like, all right, it happens because the plot demands that it happen, basically. And, you have all these storylines going on, like Jesus is going off doing his thing. You have the things with the werewolves. You have some other shit going on. It's just like, I would like to have a more central focus. Like, season 2 had 2 main storylines and a couple of subplots here and there, but usually those were covered within 2 episodes, and then they move on to something else. Season 1 was just one narrow plot line where they're trying to figure out who's killing people. Season 3, it's Russell trying to gain power. He's trying to solidify himself, gain more power, and try to overthrow the authority, and that backfires against him. Season 4, it's them trying to get this bill passed into law so that vampires have equal rights, and so the authority can accomplish its agenda. Season 5, it's like you have all this shit going on. It's like half these storylines I don't care for. The other half I'm just like, huh? And season 6 did not get any better. Granted, season 6 had a more narrow focus. I did like that. It was less misconjobulated all over the goddamn place. But the way they handled some of the characters was just, I was just like, what are you doing, Trueblood? Why are you fucking up so much? And a lot of it does stem from the fact that they deviated so fucking far from the books. Like, I get taking elements and changing them up. Like, in the season 2, Marianne does not actually die in book 2. She actually, she kills like some people and then leaves. Basically, I haven't read the books. I don't think you should have to read the books to understand what's going on in the show. It's not like Game of Thrones, which you can see. If I can get my finger, I have bad coordination. Anyways, you see the book sitting there in front of my TV. I'm reading it now. I'm reading it again to kind of get back into it, kind of figure out some things. Maybe I missed something, stuff like that. Because I rewatched the show, in between seasons. Like one season, we're on season 4. Once season 4 ends, I'll probably go back and watch seasons 1 through 3 and then add in 4 just to kind of refresh my memory. Like, okay, so that happened because that happened because that. And that is just a fucking great show. Trueblood, not so much. I watched like up to season 4, and then after that, I was like, meh. But season 5, I like the Authority, although I felt like it was a cop out on how they died. It's like, okay, so they're supposed to be this imposing power because you hear about them from the get go. The Authority, the Authority, the Authority, and everybody's like, some people are resentful towards them. Other people are like, yeah, we don't want to fuck with them. And it turns out they're really not that strong-willed. It's like they tear each other apart from the inside, but I guess at the same time, that's playing a token to them that nobody could destroy them except themselves. But I don't understand, like, okay, so the whole gist of Salome turning against Roman was based on this whole religious bullshit, the whole Book of Lilith thing. The only reason she betrayed him is because she's like, oh, he's misguided, he's sending the wrong message. And you do see a couple of conversations between them where she's like, hey, why don't you come to my side? Because I love you, but I don't want to kill you. But, because you're kind of opposing my beliefs, I'm going to kill you. And, she kind of sets up the whole deal with Russell killing him. And Salome is meant to be this kind of manipulative, controlling, just clever girl, like kind of like a Cersei, if you will. Smart, but not as smart as she thinks she is. And she makes the biggest fucking blunder by thinking that she can control Russell Edgington. He's the biggest wild card. Nobody can control him. He is just he is a basket case that nobody can get a grip on. And the biggest fuck up of season 5 was how they killed Russell. I'm like, oh, that was a really rushed, cop-out-y way to kill him. Should it have been Eric? Definitely, because nobody has more reason to kill him other than Eric. Now, would I have liked to have seen like a little fight between them two? Yeah, it should be like Russell kicks his ass, maybe Suki does some fairy shit, and that makes him go, oh, I like this, and he just gets so drunk with the power of the power. He's like, oh, you're making me stronger. Keep doing it. And, he thinks that Eric's like down on the ground and he's like inches away from Suki. And then Eric just comes up and stakes him from behind or something like that. Because Eric's not meant to be an honorable guy. He's not honorable. He's not like somebody that has respect. He has respect, but he's not somebody that he will do what he has to do to get what he wants kind of deal. So him stabbing Russell in the back is totally fine. It fits his character perfectly. Not Bill, on the other hand, maybe not. But, I just felt like that was kind of weak. They could have done the same thing, but have some more depth to it. Like maybe have Russell do some kind of cynical speech of just randomness, just like, oh, he's, oh man, this guy's out of his fucking mind. And it had to be an error in his own making. It had to have been his arrogance that kills him, because that was his ultimate flaw, was his arrogance. Because he's like, I'm 3,000 years old, nobody can fucking touch me. And then lo and behold, Eric comes out of nowhere and kills him. With season 6, there's a lot of positives I can say about it. There's a lot of negatives I can say about it. It's a mixed bag for me. A lot of people didn't like it. I thought it was okay. I liked what's his face, the fairy godfather, if you will. I liked him. I thought he was interesting. They kind of teased at first that he is Warlow, who's the guy that killed Suki's parents, but it turns out he's not. He's actually there to help them. He's there to help fight off Warlow, because he knows that Warlow's out and about and he's doing some crazy shit. And then we meet this guy named Ben, I think his name is. That's like his alias. It turns out that he's actually Warlow, and you find out that he's a fairy vampire hybrid. And the way they had it go is that, okay, he makes a deal with Suki's parents, like, look, she's going to be great. Like, she has these powers. She's not going to fit in with normal people, but she'll fit in with me. I'll take care of her. You just give her to me, and I'll give her a good life, and that'll be the end of that. And Suki's parents are like, no, they won't do it. And he's kind of like, I'm going to take her by force if I have to, because he's a damaged guy. He's seen some shit. He's been through a lot and all that stuff. So I kind of get it. I kind of get how he has this little flip side, because vampiric nature is possessive. If you see in Trueblood, every vampire is possessive of things. They greed for things, like, like she is mine, he is mine. It's them being possessive. It's them trying to just control as much as they can, because that's vampiric nature. So it fits him to a degree, because it's like it's just inherent. It's the way he's gonna be. The problem is that you get this vibe that he's like this nice guy. He's an all around decent guy, and he's the oldest fucking like he was older than Russell Edgington by I think a couple like almost 1,000 years. He was like 4,000 some odd years old, and Bill, I guess, becomes like he gets Lilith's power, so he's basically the oldest the oldest, most strongest, most powerful vampire around. And because he drank some Warlord's blood, he can walk in daylight now. But he's immune to being staked, which I don't understand why he's immune to that. I don't at all. I guess Lilith was immune to that, and that's why Warlow had to use the sun to kill her. I don't know, but the way they go about with him is that you kind of feel sorry for him because you're like, man, Bill is just using this guy like he's a fucking rag doll, and then Eric nearly kills him, and you can understand that Warlow's kind of getting a little fed up. I get that. But the way he just snaps on Suki, I was just like, what? Like, wow, dude, you're a dick. Like a complete sociopath that thinks you're entitled to shit. And, he's like, I didn't wait, X amount of years, which technically you only waited 20 years for her because I don't think you knew she was going to exist until she was actually born, until you actually found out, like, oh, hey, look, a fairy. So I was kind of like, no, you didn't wait 3,000 years for her to show up. You kind of spent 3,000 years kind of wandering, like, well, this sucks. I'm all by myself. My family's dead. I killed the bitch that killed my family that made me this thing. What to do? Oh, well, I'm just going to kill some people randomly. And they don't really go into what he did in between killing off Lilith and now. Like, what did he do exactly? Like, was he a good guy? Did he do good things? Did he try to help people out or what? And when they kill him, like the way he gets killed, I was like, what? Now Niall, that's his name, the Godfather. He comes back and he like grabs what's his face, Warlow. After he like tossed everybody aside because he's a fucking beast. And then Jason just comes in and just like shank. Like it was the weakest fucking thing. He's just like, Jason now, and then he just I was just like, so that's how they send him off. Kind of weak, not gonna lie. Did I think he was gonna die? Yeah, he had to die because you can't have a good guy that's like fucking stronger than Russell Edgington stick around for too long. You have to have something happen. But that was just kind of silly. What I think should have happened is Warlow should have maybe made a heroic sacrifice. That way you give him a send-off that's good and at least meets his character. Not that he's going to work for Lilith, but it's just like, all these vampires don't, like, some of them didn't have a choice. Like, he didn't have a choice in what happened, so it should be him kind of sympathizing with them. It's like, you know what? I'll give my life to save you guys. So he gives them the blood, and he dies, and, he thinks that, oh, like, he doesn't calculate the fact that when he dies, the power of his blood wears off. So you can have that happen too, to kind of fill in the criteria. Now, the main villain was technically supposed to be the governor dude, which he was a great, like the banter between him and Eric, their little exchanges, and then Eric turning the daughter. I thought that was great. That was awesome. That was some legit vampire shit. I was like, this is a good story in of itself. And when he turns her and she's like, he does it. He turns her to kind of convince the governor that, hey, not all vampires are bad. And the governor's kind of like in this mixed thing. He's like, what the fuck do I do with this? Like, she's my daughter, but she's a vampire. But she's my daughter, but she's a vampire. And then, what's her face? The Newland chick is just like, just kill her. I'll give you a new baby. I'll give you a new daughter. And he's just like, no, fuck you. Piss off, bitch. And so she kind of gets, hissy fitty or whatever. But then they say that she's the main villain. I'm like, no, she's a secondary villain, sure, but she's not that. She's smart, but she's dumb. If you catch my drift, like she comes up with these elaborate schemes, but her execution is just poor, like completely bad. And when Jason spares her, I'm like, okay, fine, whatever. They're gonna introduce her again, which is fine by me. And then they kill off Steve Newland, which I was kind of sad, but at the same time, the way he dies was great. I love you, Jason. And then poof, he turns into a big pile of dust. I was just like, that was good. I like that. Good job, Trueblood. That was actually kind of funny. And it was a good send off for him, just because he's just a ridiculous fucking character. He's just hilarious to watch. Because he's like one of those cheerful, misunderstood people. Like, he doesn't intend to do things to be evil. That's not his intention. Well, initially it is his intention to be evil, and I have something in my eye. Okay, this is irritating me. But okay, there, I got it. But now I look like I'm stoned. But if I can get my thoughts back together after my fucking eye incident. But like Steve Nolan, he's just an eccentric character type of deal. So the send-off they gave him was good. Nora's death, I wasn't actually sad for Nora herself because she was happy to die. She was like, you know what, I had a good life. I appreciate, what you did, Eric. And Eric's like, no, you're not going. You're all I have left. Blah blah blah. And so when he's like crying, I was like, oh, that's intense. That's making me feel kind of bad for him because that's just Alex, or I think his name's Alex. Alex Skarsgård, I know is his last name. I don't know if his name's Alex or Alec, but I think it's Alex. Or no. What the fuck is this? Why do I not remember these people? Well, it's probably because I've been more invested in the Game of Thrones than The Walking Dead. But how long have I been going on? Phone? Okay, a while. But so to kind of summarize it, what do I think Trueblood season 7 should do? Well, they say they're going to do this in Arrow Focus, but at this point, there's no redeeming the show, especially if this is the last season. It's just damage control is the best they can really do, if I'm being honest. They said the big bad villain is this guy called the Figure, who's supposed to be like a Jason Voorhees type guy. Only he can speak, and he's a monster and all that stuff. So I'm like, okay. So he's just a villain that shows up out of batshit nowhere. Not, Warlow should have been the last villain, if anything. Warlow should have been the overarching villain, which he kind of was all throughout. Because you keep hearing about how Suki's parents died. We don't know how she died or how they died. And then in season 5, we find out about this contract and this guy named Warlow and all this other stuff. And then you meet Warlow in season 6, and he's actually an okay guy. And it turns out Suki's parents were kind of stupid and kind of dickish. So you don't feel sorry for her having lost her parents now because her parents turned out to be douches. And Jason kills Warlow to avenge his parents, even though they tried to kill Suki. I was just like, what am I supposed to feel right now? Should I feel happy that Jason finally avenged his parents, even though he doesn't know that they tried to fucking kill Suki? So, yeah. And another thing that kind of contradicts it a little is that Suki and Jason were under the impression that they were not with her parents. Well, no, she was asleep. That's right. Okay, so yeah, that wasn't a contradiction. So she was asleep. She was knocked out. And, that the fairy chick comes in and says, "No, Warlow, I banish ye to the dark dimension of hell," or whatever she does. Or was it Niall? I forget if it was Niall or her, but either way, he gets banished into, like, some fucking other region from batshit nowhere. And then because she died, he's able to come back out. So that's how he was able to come out of the portal. So I was like, okay, that makes sense. But the way they handled this character was just crap. The way season 6 in general was handled was crap. And they keep saying, like, oh yeah, a major character's gonna die. A major character's gonna die. And I won't, well, fuck it, I spoiled like half the shit anyways. It was Terry. He dies. And I was just like, oh, okay, well, he dies. Well, I mean, they gave him a good send-off. He came to terms with his demons and all that stuff, which, speaking of demons, that was a goddamn terrible storyline in season 5 with the Ifrit. That was such a stupid storyline. The fucking fired smoke demon thing. I was like, did we just take a chapter out of Lost? Like, oh shit, the smoke monsters from Lost are in this now. What the fuck else is next? Next thing you know, we're gonna have like Godzilla come in and say, all right, I need to kill Suki for whatever reason. All right, but just the smoke monster was so stupid. And the CGI for it was even worse. I was like, oh, wow. That's horrid. Oh, and then I guess the last point to cover before I, end this video, because I've been going on for a while, is the way they've done werewolves. Like, they keep saying that werewolves are dangerous and blah, blah, blah. Werewolves are fucking pushovers. Like, how many werewolves have died? How many actually were a legitimate threat? Like, the only werewolf we've seen do anything really badass was Alcide. And his chick just randomly flipping switches on him. I was like, okay, they're just trying to get rid of the werewolves. They're not even trying to do it in a good way. They're just like, no, we need to get rid of them now. And the way that happened, I was just like, what? Like, I get that she, is a recovering V addict and all that stuff, but at the same time, that was kind of like just a complete 180. And, the way she felt towards Alcide. And actually, the whole pack in general just kind of like turned on him because, I don't even know. I'm not even trying to put this together because that whole thing was just stupid. Like, Alcide goes from being a douche to being a nice guy again, and then him and Sam just kind of come together. Like, hey, yeah, I left the pack. Oh, did you? My girlfriend's dead. Oh, that sucks. Yeah, and her daughter's now living with her crazy ass grandmother. That sucks, dude. You want a beer? Sure. And then they had like a little bonding moment. I was just like, this is really fucking weird and awkward. But either way, I mean, Trueblood started off great, and it's been a convoluted fucking mess, and season 10 is going to be a convoluted fucking mess. Like, how many? Like, look at how many characters they have debuting in there. I know most of them are just going to appear in like an episode and get killed off, or just never appear again. But Game of Thrones, he has less people and a more complicated story than that, and it just feels like a clusterfuck. I'm like, why are they shoehorning so many fucking people into this? We don't need this many fucking characters. That's another thing, is Trueblood's been a little too conservative on killing people off. Now, I admit there are some characters you should not kill off, because I believe the books were actually very conservative on who they killed off. You know, whereas George R. R. Martin's just like handing out death sentences to everybody like it's just fucking candy. Even The Walking Dead's kind of, you know, up there with Game of Thrones' level, although Game of Thrones is a lot more notorious for it. So with that being said, what do you guys think of Trueblood? What do you think of what we've seen of season 7 so far? Are you glad the show is ending? Me personally, yes. It's like, all right, you've milked this cow to the point that it's on the brink of dying. So, and you've deviated way too far from the books, from what I understand. Like, this show has gone like way overboard in terms of sticking to the source material. It's its own entity now. It's not like Game of Thrones where like they're making changes here and there, and those changes breed more changes, so you have to change the whole thing, but you're making it adapt to itself, whereas True Blood's just like, let's just throw all this shit in and see what happens. So, mishandled on the part of the producers and the writers and the screenplayists and all that stuff like that. So, all right, well, stay tuned for more Let's Plays. I'm not going to go into a vlog uploading spree, but I just wanted to get a few things off my chest and discuss a little True Blood, talk a little bit more positively, with some WWE Extreme Rules, let you guys know that I like the pay-per-view. And True Blood, it's one of the, it's like that little kid that is a complete moron, a complete idiot, but at the same time he or she is just too cute and adorable to hate. That's just how that show is to me. It's like, you're an idiot, but you know what? I like you. You're all right sometimes when you're not an idiot, which is not very often, but still, I like you. Now go play in the corner. Go over there. No, I need to talk to the adults. I need to talk to Walking Dead, Game of Thrones, Breaking Bad. I need to talk to the actual adults. You go play over there. Yeah, just go over there. Yeah. You see Vampire Diaries? Yeah, they're over there. Go talk to them. They'll keep you occupied. Okay. So with that being said, I'll be seeing you guys around.